Yo, JD here, Tyrolinus, and as you can see by the title of this video here today, we're going to be talking about F1 2017, and this video was inspired by Ben Timarana, which I'm sure every single person here is subscribed to. He did a video the other day where he was actually talking about the career mode aspects of the game, what he wants to be involved in there, and I thought that would give me a good idea to talk about the similar things as well, but this would be for multiplayer only, and nothing to do with the career mode, even though I absolutely love the career mode in this game. But since I'm more of a multiplayer kind of player, well, I am purely a multiplayer player pretty much, I thought this would be a great video to actually just talk about my thoughts on what I feel they should include in the game, what I feel they should just carry over, and things to improve on. And obviously I'm interested to hear what you guys think as well. So the first thing, I'll just talk about the handling. The handling is good in this game, even though a few things recently where I've said it's not particularly to my liking, which is true. I feel the handling should be a little bit more weighted. It just feels sometimes the car is quite floaty, if that makes any sense pretty much. I just would like to feel just a lot more weight in the car, which I actually had in the beta. When I tested it back in March, the car felt really heavy and you could feel every single squiggle or every single piece of traction you're picking up through the corners. I'd just like the car to not feel as light, and that goes for really in race fuel. Which I think on F1 2012 was probably the best weight feeling of a car I've experienced in an F1 game, because if you're on a 50% race or 100% race and you've got 50 laps or 60 laps of fuel in the car, you're going to have to be braking so much earlier, and I just find in this game that I'm pretty much braking at the same points as I do in qualifying, even if it's on lap 1 of a race. So for me, I feel the traction is good. I think it's quite difficult. I would like to see it be improved a little bit more, made it more difficult, which it was in an earlier build of this game. I would like to see that improved slightly, but I think the traction is good, the braking is good. You have to actually trail brake in this game, and the change of direction and turning, that does feel good. It feels really smooth on the controller, or on the wheel. I've heard it looks pretty good on the wheel, and I've had comments from people on the wheel say it feels good. So I feel the handling is definitely going in the right direction. I was happy with it in this game. Definitely a major improvement on F1 2015 in my opinion, but I feel just the handling of the car just needs to be a little bit more weighted. You really need to feel the car a bit more, which is something I feel they achieved in the earlier build of this game. So I would say probably make the traction a little bit more difficult, but keep the braking the same, and just the weight shift between corners I think needs to be there more, as I said, which was included in the beta, which a lot of people were struggling with. So I feel they made it a little bit easier for just, obviously not everyone's going to be a hardcore player, so I understand why they made it easier, but I feel it was definitely a lot more satisfying in the earlier build. So that's something I'd definitely like to see again. And talking about maybe the handling, well, in terms of racing and online and stuff as well, I feel the slipstream needs to definitely be less powerful. I think it's way too overpowered in my opinion, and I know that's something they couldn't change, and for the game that was a core factor in the game that they just couldn't simply just do a patch over. So I would really like to see the slipstream not as powerful as it was. I know it's always been quite powerful, but on other games like 2012, 13, even 14, and I'm not really too sure on 15 how powerful it was in there, but on the previous games it was powerful, but it was not as powerful as this, which I know provides really great entertainment to actually watch the races. It's really fun. But sometimes I think it's a bit too powerful. I think on Baku Straight, Azerbaijan, you can actually overtake someone and then re-overtake them again going to turn 1. So I think for me that's a little bit too much. So I feel really just turn that down a bit. And if they did that in this game, I think it would be really solid if they did that. Another thing as well, which I actually touched on in my previous video, which I did a few days ago, the equal car settings. For me, I feel the cars are capable of doing the same speed, as I said, but they just don't feel the same between the different engine providers, or even if the same engine provider that you're with. The cars just have different characteristics. Some cars feel more understeery, feel more oversteery. Some have better braking stability, some feel they have better traction, easier to control, which can all achieve the same lap time, but depending on what kind of player you are, it can be definitely, there can be definitely advantages of you being in a car that suits you more compared to another. So I would really like to see them really try and make it feel the same. I know the code's the same. That's been confirmed to us already, that the code is exactly the same, but it may be because of just the gear ratios. It may be because of just a short wheelbase of the car, which I feel has got a feeling that's to do with because the chassis is just a different length and a different like ride height and stuff. And naturally of the chassis just creates a different effect on the car. Whereas I know the power and everything is still the same, but they do definitely feel different. So maybe if we went back earlier this year as we did it last year, that's something you could really hopefully just fix and focus on, because as I said, I feel they can do the same times and you can get the same result, but I feel depending on your driving style, other cars are going to suit you a lot more. So when it says equal cars, I'd really like them to just literally have the same car, but just with just a different exterior to it, if that is possible. Obviously with the engine sounds, it may be a placebo effect, it may be, maybe not, but for me and other people who commented on the video, it definitely feels there's a lot of different characteristics to the car. So I feel that's something I would love to see, just really try and focus on just having exactly the same characteristic per car. Also as well, which I forgot to mention in my previous video, equal pit stops. And I know this is something that's been happening throughout the years in the games, that sometimes you can have a slightly faster pit stop than another by 2 tenths or so. But on this game, if you're in the Haas or the Manor, you could actually have like a 2.9 second pit stop, so almost 3 seconds. And if you're in Mercedes, you can have a 1.7 pit stop. I know today, from racing with a few people, they were actually in Mercedes and they actually got a 2.9 pit stop as well. But it seems to be the lower car you're down in on equal car settings, you're going to have a lot more high probability of having a slower pit stop. So just stuff like that, if they could just make sure that it's just the same, or it is just the same every time, unless you've got damage of course or something, but if that could just be the same every time, then that would be absolutely great. That would just eliminate any discussion or debate about that. And as well, just with the manual pit stops, I think it's great this game that they've really, when they've actually introduced, instead of going flat out into the pits, you really have to focus on where you're going to be braking, and you can make the difference between you coming out ahead of someone else or not. And I really do love that. What I'd love to see, which I think I had on F1 2006, is when you actually go into your pit box, you can control how quickly they change the tyres. So if you're pressing certain buttons, so just a manual thing like that, I think would be just an extra element they could add onto the game. I feel would be a really good thing. So at the moment, definitely keep when you're coming into the pits. People are saying to you for you to actually drive in the pits completely manually yourself. I would absolutely love to see that, but I think that's a little bit too much at the moment. So I feel just AI just takes it over once you're actually in the pits, but then you actually controlling how fast you actually change your tyres and that. I think that would be a really good thing to add in as well. With the assists versus no assists on this game, it definitely does appear that assists do help you and they actually make you quicker in time trial, which is something I actually tested today as well. If you're actually running traction control or medium or ABS and then you put your brake pressure to like 100%, you can literally brake almost like 10 to 15 meters later, which is pretty difficult to compete against that when you've got those kind of braking distances, and the traction is definitely better on medium traction compared to no assist. So when I was playing it in the beta, no assist was definitely quicker, and when I tested it as well, no assist was a good half a second to even a second quicker. And I feel that would be a really good thing to just ensure that no assist is quicker, because that will encourage people to actually really grind out the game more. Because if you just say that assists are going to be quicker, it's going to be, it's not really going to force people to just really grind out the game, because it's already comfortable for them. They can already get those top times. And I understand why they do it, because they need to appeal it to like the mass audience, the casual players, with someone who just doesn't even play every day, maybe plays a few hours a week and doesn't have time, or just doesn't have the passion for hardcore racing on the game, which I do understand. But I do definitely feel that no assist needs to be rewarded more than what they are at the moment, because on 2012 I think that was a pretty much a perfect balance. I think it was about half a second, just over half a second quicker with no assists, and it was a lot harder, but it was just so much more rewarding. So it will take you a lot of time to get used to it, but you'll get the rewards of it in the end. So I feel that just needs to be a little bit of a better balance. I feel no assist needs to be quicker than assists, in my opinion. And moving on to the multiplayer now, the sprint mode that we have now, where you can just go in sprint mode lobby, I think that works really well. And the great thing I can say is that the connection, for me, if you've got a good connection, I think the connection most of the time is really good. It's definitely a big improvement on F1 2015 for sure. So that is really positive. If they can maintain that connection or even improve it slightly, that'll be absolutely great. But the one thing I'd say is, and I know this is not really something they could control in the past, but if it is possible, I would love to have custom lobbies back in as we had on 2013, 2014, 2012, 2011. I think that's something would really encourage people to play the game a lot more, because right now it seems to be a lot of people playing in sprint mode, but hardly any people really having their own custom lobbies, because the thing is, you have to actually set up yourself and you have to invite them off, that, you have to be friends with people on Xbox Live in order to invite them and that as well. I just feel having just a filter where you can see which custom lobbies are actually open, so they're 25%, 50%, so you know what point they are in the race or what distance and how many people were in the lobby, which I had on the previous games at 13 and 12 and 11. That would really blow up the multiplayer in my opinion. I mean, it would really encourage people to go on it a lot more, and it would just make it a lot more fun, because the last thing you want is waiting for 10 laps of a race to go and then you have to quit and then find out another lobby, and you're joining random lobbies. So if it's possible to actually search for your own lobby and see which is available, which lobbies are available, I think back in the past, I think that's when the multiplayer really did thrive, and I think that's definitely something that needs to be tried to be included for the next game for sure. And these next few things that I've taken inspiration from games like Call of Duty, which I play quite often as well. I believe he had it on 2012, where you had a rank next to your name. So I really do feel there needs to be like an online leaderboard, and there needs to be like a rank, maybe even like an emblem, or not quite like a Call of Duty where it's like prestigious, but there definitely needs to be something that you need to work towards online. So if it's a rank, like a number, so it's like a level 1000, or you can unlock if you do a certain number of races or a certain number of race wins in a row, like per weekly, so you have challenges just like on Call of Duty, which I'll probably show up on here now just in a second, but maybe like an online rank, an online leaderboard, which is something we actually did have on 2012. I was pretty certain we did on 2011 as well. An online leaderboard, so to see who has the best true skill ratio, who's done the most races. I feel something like that where you can really show off of how good you are actually online would encourage people to play online a lot more as well. So something like that, we have like a rank or an emblem or like a prestige, or something to work towards. Definitely pretty much what you have in Call of Duty, I think is something that would be really a great thing to actually implement into the game and encourage people to play more online as well. Which is something I definitely feel needs to happen. And leading on to that as well, just the customization of your player profile. So I'll probably be bringing this up now on the screen, because on the new Call of Duty, the Modern Warfare Remastered, I just feel something where you go into a lobby, you can just go over someone's name, and as I said before, you can see their rank, their status, the level that they're at. Like they had on Race Driver Grid, they had a legendary status, or like the race driver status, something like that, and you can go on their profile. They have their own emblem, they have like their own player profile, or like a COD background, or F1 background that they have through unlocks, a certain number of races, certain number of race wins, certain number of like fastest laps, something like that, and you can see all their stats. So you can see the number of races they've done, the wins, the average finishing position, pretty much what you see on your profile if you go into like your F1 stats. Something where they can actually go on in the lobby and they can see who is the top guy in the lobby, how many races they've done, just seeing all their stats with a click of a button, which you can do on Call of Duty. So I think something like that would be absolutely great, and again, just encourage people to just play the game a lot more online, and just get more people online as well. I think that'd be really good. And another thing as well, I think, well, mainly particularly for league racing and more of the hardcore kind of style of players, I think maybe options of like banned setups, which they have on that Forza, which they've always had on Forza, to ban at certain camera angles. For me, a perfect league would be basically where you're in exactly the same car. You have to use exactly the same camera angles. There's no setups involved. It's just you and the car against 20 other people, and I think that would be absolutely perfect. And that leads me on to say as well, games like PGR4, everyone could be in the same car, because going on from the equal car settings and stuff as well, they had a system in there where basically, for example, everyone could be in a Mercedes in a league race. So everyone would be in the Mercedes, and whoever's first into the pits gets the first pit box, and then vice versa on from there. So I think that having that option, be more than 2 people in the same car, I think will be a really great addition as well. Obviously, with the custom liveries and stuff, I think that's down to like the FOM management, so I don't think that would ever happen. But I think everyone being in the same car, so technically like GP2, so everyone would be in the same chassis, same powered car on equal car settings. I think that would be a really, really good feature. And again, with the option to ban setups and certain camera angles and stuff as well, I think that would be really, really good as well. So basically, those are my thoughts for the game, really. I know this is a bit of a long video, and obviously I want to hear what you guys think. But I feel F1 2016 is a great game. It's definitely a lot improved compared to F1 2015 and 14. But I feel there's just a few little things they can add in, really just to put the cherry on the cake. So with the handling, I feel it's drastically been improved this year, and I do enjoy it. But I feel just a little bit of the difficulty has been taken out in the builds up to the game. So I feel making that a little bit more difficult, a little bit more feeling in the car. I think that they would be onto a winner if they did that. And with the multiplayer, add them to custom lobbies and just a lot more customization of what your player profile actually represents online, I think would be great as well. And you can also talk about the bugs as things where people just leave the lobby, it makes the game lag, and people retire, makes the game lag. And, there's other bugs which I'm sure they are aware of, and we've all posted it on the forums online. But yeah, I feel if they add those things, just a lot more customization to the multiplayer, and just being able to filter for your own races, I think I would encourage people to play a lot more online, and just having something to work towards, as I showed in the clip just a couple of minutes ago, just having like your own challenges to work towards. So if you win a certain number of races in these cars without these assists, if you have to win races with with traction on and then traction off, and it's like first to 50 races and 100 and 1,000, you unlock a certain emblem, a certain ranking, certain status. I think things like that would be really good, kind of like the R&D of basically the multiplayer, where without actually upgrading your car and equal car settings, you just unlock new trophies, new additions you could put on your player profile, new helmet unlocks possibly and stuff like that. So I think just taking inspiration from other games like that, I think it would make it absolutely insane. So those are my thoughts on the game, really. Let me know what you think or what you would like to see for F1 2017. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I can't wait till that comes out. But I'm going to enjoy this game for now. And yeah, thank you so much for the support recently. Let me know what you think below, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.